This is CNN Breaking News.
We're following breaking news. President-elect Donald Trump making some of his most extensive comments since the election in a meeting with one of his favorite Twitter targets, the New York Times, after bashing the paper in a tweet this morning and canceling the on-the-record conversation. Trump changed his mind, sat down with the reporters and executives, and backed away from his campaign promise to investigate, prosecute, and jail Hillary Clinton. Trump also defended his controversial chief strategist, Steve Bannon, saying that allegations of anti-Semitism and connections to the alt-right movement are, quote, not him, even though Bannon himself has said that Breitbart news site he ran is the platform for the alt-right. Trump also disavowed neo-Nazis and white nationalists who gathered in Washington, D.C. to celebrate his victory. Video of that event showed Nazi salutes and shouts of "Hail Trump." The president-elect says it's not a group he wants to energize. Trump also addressed questions about conflicts of interest between his presidency and the Trump Organization's sizable business interests around the world. Trump claimed, and I'm quoting him now, the president can't have a conflict of interest, and he stated he could in theory run the country and his business perfectly. We're covering all of that, much more this hour with our guests, including the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman Elijah Cummings, and our correspondents and our expert analysts are standing by. Let's begin with Donald Trump's meeting with the New York Times. Our political reporter Sarah Murray has the very latest. Sarah, this morning Trump called the Times a failing newspaper. This afternoon he called it a great American jewel. What's the latest?
Well, Wolf, not the only issue Donald Trump appears to be having a change of heart on today. After spending more than a year traveling the country, referring to Hillary Clinton as Crooked Hillary and saying he would name a special prosecutor to investigate her, now he says he just doesn't feel that strongly about it.
Hillary Clinton will be under investigation for a long, long time.
That pledge to put Hillary Clinton behind bars is no longer a top priority. Donald Trump telling the New York Times today he's not taking a potential investigation entirely off the table, but saying, it's just not something that I feel very strongly about, adding that such a move would be very, very divisive for the country. One of his top advisors, Kellyanne Conway, is hoping other Republicans follow Trump's cues.
I think when the president-elect, who's also the head of your party now, Joe, tells you before he's even inaugurated he doesn't wish to pursue these charges, it sends a very strong message, tone and content to the members.
While Trump appears poised to forgive some grudges, that doesn't appear to extend to the press. After a fiery meeting with television executives Monday, Trump spiraled into a Twitter tantrum against the New York Times today, saying, I canceled today's meeting with the failing New York Times when the terms and conditions of the meeting were changed at the last moment. Not nice. Then he ventured out for his meeting with the newspaper anyway, telling New York Times reporters he's focused on how much climate change regulations will cost American businesses, and admitting there's some link between humans and climate change, saying, I think there is some connectivity, something. It depends on how much. The billionaire businessman also suggesting he wants to be the one to strike a peace agreement between the Israelis and the Palestinians, with the help of his Jewish son-in-law, Jared Kushner. And yet again, Trump leapt to the defense of his chief strategist, Steve Bannon, under fire for his ties to the alt-right movement, which has embraced elements of white supremacy and anti-Semitism. Trump saying of Bannon, if I thought he was racist or alt-right, I wouldn't even think about hiring him. But Bannon himself has boasted that Breitbart News is the platform of the alt-right. That's as another one of Trump's White House picks, incoming National Security Advisor Michael Flynn is facing a new wave of scrutiny for these comments in an August speech.
We are facing another ism, just like we faced Nazism and fascism and imperialism and communism. This is Islamism, and it is a vicious cancer inside the body of 1.7 billion people on this planet. And it has to be excised.
All of this as Trump continues to stoke the palace intrigue around those cabinet positions that have yet to be filled. The president-elect confirming to the New York Times that General James Mattis is under serious consideration for Department of Defense. And after meeting with Dr. Ben Carson today, Trump announced that he's still in the running for a top slot and could be tapped to lead the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Trump tweeting, I am seriously considering Dr. Ben Carson as the head of HUD. I've gotten to know him well. He's a greatly talented person who loves people. Now, Donald Trump is taking a break from his flurry of meetings for the Thanksgiving holiday. Right now, he is en route to Mar-a-Lago in Florida, where he'll be spending the next couple of days with his family members. A little time off, even for the president-elect, Wolf.
All right, Sarah, thanks very much. Sarah Murray in New York. It's still not clear tonight how Donald Trump will address concerns about his sprawling business empire, his new role as president, and potential conflicts of interest. And as Tom Foreman is working the story for us, Tom, this issue also came up today.
Yeah, it did. In this meeting with the New York Times, Donald Trump was asked about numerous business relationships that could lay the groundwork for trouble, for conflicts of interest, and yet he still appears to be straddling the fence between being a private businessman and a public servant. When Donald Trump opened his billion-dollar Scottish resort in 2012, he had big ambitions.
We wanted to build what we determined could be easily the greatest golf course anywhere in the world.
But soon he was tilting at windmills, embroiled in a legal fight with the Scottish government over a wind farm just offshore, ruining the view. A fight he lost less than a year ago. Yet shortly after his election, he met with British politician Nigel Farage, who helped lead the Brexit movement. And did they discuss wind farms again? Just today, Trump told the New York Times, "I might have brought it up." The story embodies everything political watchdogs are worried about.
Whether a position is abused or there's just the potential for that abuse, there's just the opportunity to abuse it. Either way, it's undermining of confidence in government.
The billionaire politician told the Times, "In theory, I could run my business perfectly and then run the country perfectly." Adding, however, he's phasing that out now, letting his children take over. But a firewall has clearly not gone up yet. So the president of Argentina says when he called to offer congratulations, Trump's daughter Ivanka was on the line too. The transition team says no business was discussed, but the Trump organization is working on a $100 million project in Buenos Aires. When the Japanese prime minister came calling, there was Ivanka again. With the Trump organization doing business with at least 150 companies in 25 countries, the potential for professional ties colliding with politics is huge. Will the new president recognize the new envoy from the Philippines picked just before the election? Sure, it's his former business partner. Lawsuits are also a worry, such as the one over Trump University, which he just settled for $25 million. So are reports of questionable behavior and bookkeeping at the Trump Foundation. And even that fancy new D.C. hotel he so proudly opened recently, it is on property leased from the very government he will now lead. Even as the president-elect promises to step away from all these entanglements, it remains unclear when he will complete that step. But one thing is very clear. He's confident this won't be a problem, telling the Times, "The law's totally on my side. The president can't have a conflict of interest." Wolf?
Tom, is there any indication he's actually done some deals since being elected president?
We don't know. We do know that in regard to that Argentine deal we mentioned a minute ago, Eric Trump was with one of the developers on election night. And even though the project had appeared to be stalled, just days after that phone call with Ivanka, the developer put out a press release saying construction will start next June. That's not proof of anything, Wolf, but it's the very thing that is raising eyebrows.
Tom Foreman reporting.